Alright, so welcome back. Let's take a look at adding and editing invoices and some of the other features that are wrapped around that. I've got a Unit 012 logged in here on my system, and we'll click on this button to open up the invoice ledger. So let's jump under invoices on the left. We can list all of our invoices here. And to add a new invoice, I'll just click on this Add Invoice button. You can scroll to the bottom and click Add Invoice there as well. So whichever is easier for you, we'll click on Add Invoice and we'll bring that up. The report date is that first field that you're going to set here, and you just pick that report date. And when you set that report date, it's going to auto-populate what the payment due date is based on that date. So it's going to be 45 days out on that. So if I choose July 1st, it's going to change that to August 15th. You can change this to be whatever you want it to be. Certainly customizable, but every time you select a date here, it's going to reset that 45 days out. If you do need to change the number of days for payment, when payment is due at your location, like I said, the default's 45, you can run over here to Settings under System Settings, and there's an option right there to set the number of days for the payment terms, and just hit Save. So, all right, let's go back over here and we'll click Add Invoice. That's your report date, and then event date, you can choose the date of the event, and if it's like a board bill or something that doesn't have a date applied to it, you can just leave that blank. It's optional. Certainly you can just choose the date of that event to tag that with this invoice. The reference number or invoice number that we're familiar with calling it, you can type in that field and put anything in there that you choose to, but the best way to do it is to use this button here, which will auto-generate an invoice number in sequence with all the others that are there, and with the prefix, the appropriate prefix. So I recommend that that's the best way to go ahead and generate that invoice number. And billing company, for most of us, we're going to choose Pioneer College Caterers. Just leave it on that. There are some reasons to change that, but for most of us, that's where we're going to be on that. We'll come back to that one later. On your customer, you select the customer that this invoice applies to. If your customer is not listed here, you can click Add New to enter a customer. It'll give you the options to enter that customer in right here. The purpose for that is to have their email address and contact information all connected with that invoice. And if we go over here to the list on the left hand side, we go over to customers and we click List Customers. You'll see here you can add customers and list as many customers as you want. No limit to that. But one thing that's handy to know, if you're adding a customer, there's a account code and department code. So you can put a number in this account code. So I know some of our locations, when they're preparing invoices, they have to assign that to an account code or a department. So that's where you would put that in, and it would be tied to that particular customer. So when you're selecting the customer with that particular account code, you would just need to select that one. Go back here to Add Invoice. And so when you select customer, it'll populate the account code or the department code that's tied to that customer. So you might have a couple of them for your school name with the account code tied to that. Invoice subject is just going to be a regarding. You type in your text what the subject of that invoice is for searching and keywords and so on. And then your status. Pending is going to be all new invoices are pending, and then you have canceled, overdue, and paid. So that's where you set that status. Under quantity, of course, you just choose one. And cool thing about under product descriptions is the things that you key in often, that are often re-entered, can be preset and pre-populate for you, so you don't have to type it all in. So for instance, if I type B for board, it's going to list board rate, right? So I can select that rather than type it all in. I can just select it and it will pre-populate this information. And then you can type in whatever amount and set that up the way that it's appropriate for your location. And then you put your amount in over here. And it'll calculate the subtotal and so on. So, for example, another one might be student labor. So student payroll rebate, right? Same thing. Keys all this stuff in for you, and then you can just put your amount in, and it'll subtotal that. So those presets, those items that are pre-saved and available to you, are listed under products. So if we go under products, list products, this is where you edit those or create those, and you can key in default amounts that would be pre-populated, so make that a little bit more simple for you. So back under add invoice, this little button to the right of the invoice description is a text box that allows you to key in as more description underneath the invoice item, so that you can be as descriptive as necessary on that. And you can add more items by clicking the plus, or take them away by clicking the minus here. And then down here you can put any additional notes that you would like to put in there. Back on list of the invoices here, if you want to edit an existing invoice, you just click on Actions and click Edit Invoice. And there you can see all the information is right there for you to edit it and just update the invoice. You can just click on any invoice to view it. It'll pop up in a viewer just like that. And if you want to download it as a PDF, you just come over your Actions and hit Download PDF, and it'll download it down here with the invoice number. And then you can show in folder and open that invoice up as PDF. You can also, under Actions, choose Email Invoice, and it'll send an email with the attached invoice as a PDF to the customer as listed on the list of customers there, the email address. View payments lets you view any payments that have been applied, and I think we've kind of already talked through all that. But it is important that if you're marking an invoice as paid, that you don't edit the invoice and change it from pending to paid here. You can, but you shouldn't. And what you should do is click Add Payment, and it'll default to the full amount, and click Add Payment button. Because by adding payment here, it'll mark it with the amount paid. If you simply go to the Edit Invoice and change it to paid, it's not going to know how much was paid or apply any payment, so it'll still show 0 under paid, and that's going to mess up your balance of what's been paid and unpaid. So again, just go to Add Payment and mark the payment there. And we already talked about this in the previous video, but Duplicate Invoice lets you duplicate that invoice and replicate everything that's in it, and just create a new reference number on top of that. Okay, so that's enough for this one, and thanks for watching.